Here we go again. Party number 4. We've had an 80th, a 90th, 95th, and now the big 100. Please stand if you had the honor of being at all 4 of these parties.
No.
For those of you who weren't there at all 4 parties, I'd like to quickly review the themes of those parties. The 80th birthday party was called Last Year on the Keno Board to commemorate all the trips that my mother, Kara's mother Betty, Daniel, and I took to Las Vegas.
Go ahead, just keep talking.
It was there that my mother, then in her 70s, would walk around the midway at Circus for hours with Daniel, matching him step by step with stamina, energy, and enthusiasm. Karen's brother Marty and her cousin Mark were at the piano then, and here they are now, 20 years later, helping us out playing dual pianos. And I am, once again, at the podium. The theme of my mother's 90th birthday party was In a Class by Herself. This title stemmed from the fact that my mother had just gone to her high school reunion and got a special award for being the only one in her graduating class who was not dead. In fact, back when she was in high school, for the school yearbook, her best friend, Ann Schaffner, was voted homecoming queen and most likely to become famous. However, Phyllis received the most votes for an even higher honor. She was voted most likely to be alive for the 75th class reunion. For those of you who attended the 95th birthday party, you may remember that my mother insisted we throw her a huge party because she was afraid that some of her family and friends would not be around for her 100th. Sadly, she was correct. Her last 2 siblings, Ruth and Alvin, as well as numerous other family members and friends, did not make it. But she did, and we all did. So let's have a round of applause for us. Her 95th birthday party was called Her Name is Phyllis, and She's a Showgirl. Posters out in front. This was in honor of 30 consecutive years of singing and dancing in her community's little theater productions.
No, please. Thank you.
That's only because he wasn't playing. I'm sure you all remember how the party ended, with my mother dancing with her tap dancing group. You must also recall the last thing I said in my speech was, "See you at her 100th. I don't know if we'll all be there, but my mother knows she will." How did she know this? In fact, it wasn't just 5 years ago that she predicted she would have her 100th birthday party. It was 35 years ago that she called it. Karen and I had just become engaged when, at the age of 65, my mother was forced into mandatory retirement from her job at the county, because that was the policy in 1975. It was the night that my mother met Karen and her mother Betty for the first time. She spent the entire evening crying about how she was being forced to retire at age 65, the prime of her life. Karen's mother had said to her,
"I'm sure you'll have enough to do and plenty of money."
"For 35 years?
"But you're 65. In 35 years, you'll be 100.
So, what's your point?" Later that night, Karen and I could hear her mother calling everyone she knew, saying,
"I just met the Machatunum. You can't believe this woman, Phyllis. She thinks she's going to live to be 100. Just who does she think she is?"
In time, Betty became a believer. To her, Phyllis was Superwoman. I don't think Betty would be at all surprised to know today we are celebrating my mother's 100th birthday. So, how did my mother know she would live to see her 100th birthday? Was it wishful thinking? A lucky guess? Or did she know something nobody else did? As we examine her life, you decide. Today, on this special day, her party is titled "The Water in the Gene Pool," because we're all going to have the opportunity to decide what enabled Phyllis to be here today. After all, she's a woman who still thinks she's in the prime of her life. For her 100th birthday present, my mother wanted to be on the Oprah Winfrey Show. We planned to fulfill her dream by getting proof of the family legend that her great-grandmother lived to be 124 years old. You'll find her picture on each of your tables. So, Karen and I began this monumental task. The only problem was that no one in the family could remember her great-grandmother's name. Everyone we asked replied, her name, it was Bubby Faggy. Now, Bubby is Yiddish for grandmother, and Faggy is Yiddish for whatever her name was. Some guessed that her English last name was Ibram, or Ibram, or Ibrahim, or Shapiro. But no one knew for sure. And no one knew her English first name either.